And now we have the Living Bio performance as Billie Holiday by Jaquan Knox.
Oh, okay, I must be me.
Hello!
Hi!
All right, so my name is Damon Gray, and I'm here to talk about one of the most influential women to me. Her name is Eleanor Fagan, aka Billie Holiday, aka Lady Day. She was born on April 7th, 1915 in my hometown of Baltimore, Maryland. The Duchess, her mom, was a working lady, a prostitute, and would leave her sometime with her auntie's mother-in-law and go to work. She was a single mother for quite some time. Her dad, Clarence, wasn't always around like he should have been. But hey, not too uncommon these days. He was a fine jazz musician. She never had a chance to play with dolls like other kids. She started working when she was just 6 years old. After being shifted around from house to house, school didn't matter so much. So she started skipping. Well, that was an even worse idea. She had to go to court with her mom to defend her truancies, her skipping class. That's when they sent her to the House of Good Shepherd for colored girls. One day while her mom was out working, one of her tenants took her innocence. She was only 11 years old. Thankfully, they sent the bastard to prison. She and her mom moved to New York shortly after that. She hardly ever saw her, though, after the move. You see, she dropped out of school to work. She started doing small chores in one of those brothels, the prostitute place, before she became a worker there herself. Eventually, she was sent to prison. That was the first time. Once she was out, she tried to find a job as a dancer. But when that didn't work out, she decided to go with her heart and sing for them. And from then on, she found herself singing all over in different clubs in Harlem. That's when she decided to change her name to Billie.
After Billy Dove. You see, a lot of people don't know that. I named myself after Billy Dove, the great movie star. Never missed a single picture. You know, there are a lot of things people don't know about me. Like wild lettuce gardenia in my hair. See, one night before a performance, child, I burned my hair with a curling iron. So, one of the girls in my show went down the street and bought a flower. I put it in my hair, and I loved it so much that it became my staple. I wore it for every show after that. But you know, there's still even more that people don't know about me.
Like, she was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2010.
I got this. You know, no two people are alike. And it's got to be that way in music, or it ain't music. Because them that God shall have, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible said, and it still is news. My
Billie Holiday, everybody.
Well, you see the kind of talents we have here at Morgan State University, how we pursue excellence. You just have an expression of that, so let's give them another round of applause. And also thank and congratulate our great faculty in the Department of Fine and Performing Arts under the leadership of Dr. Eric Conway, who was at the piano a while ago. Before we move on with the program, I would like to invite the platform party just to come. Well, good morning again, and welcome to the 2018 Women History Month Convocation at Morgan State University. As I said earlier, my name is Marangom, and I'm the Dean of the James H. Gilliam Jr. College of Liberal Arts. And just allow me to brag a little bit. We are the largest academic unit here at Morgan State University, and we call ourselves the centerpiece, of the academic environment here at Morgan State. So I bring greetings on behalf of President David Wilson and Provost Gloria Gibson, who were not able to make it today. And today the world is celebrating International Women's Day, and here at Morgan State University we are celebrating Women's History Month Convocation. So Women's History Month Convocation is the 8th convocation in a Morgan's year-round celebration of African American history and culture. And when we say African American history and culture, we are not only referring to North America. We are talking about a space that runs from Canada all the way to Tierra del Fuego, the southern tip of Chile. Believe it or not, you have black people in Chile as well. Mm-hmm. So even though they call themselves very European, the same as Argentina, but they still have. So it highlights this convocation, the tremendous achievement of women, African American women, black women, and their contribution to the history and culture of people of African descent in the Americas. So today's convocation is a very important convocation for us in the College of Liberal Arts, but also at Morgan State University. And it is part of a program of activity that really kicked off on February the 18th, 2018, with the opening of the exhibition In Their Own World, Art, Blackness, and Womanhood at the James H. Lewis Museum of Art. So, James E. Lewis Museum of Art, sorry. And the exhibition is still going on, and it's a wonderful exhibition. If you haven't had the opportunity to see it, just go and spend time there. And we had, on February 18, some of the artists whose works are featured or present there were also at the opening ceremony. Actually, it was as one of my students said in one of her papers, I'm not sure whether that's English or not, it was a fantabulous event. And so I just left it alone. But anyway, so this year theme, in her own words, art, blackness, and womanhood, seeks to capture various dimensions of black women's contribution in the visual arts, giving voice to in the visual art and giving voice to exceptional artists of African descent. It is what I would call a horizontal, cross-cultural, and transnational narrative, what we have here and what they will be talking about here, because they address issues of cultural, racial, gender identity that are rooted in racial politics, gender, and class. And this is just not typical of the United States. If you go to Colombia, it's the same. If you go to Peru, women of African descent are going through the same experiences. So the African American women artists, whose cultural and aesthetic creation and productions are exhibited in our great museum, have been, quote, spoken about or written about, to use the expression by Irene Acibada Almeida, referring to African women writers. But now, after many years of institutional invisibility, that is, after many years of being seen through, because being invisible doesn't mean that you are not there. You are there, but you are just seen through. You are not present. So after many years of being seen through, these artists own the narrative. And they are telling it how? How are they telling it? In their own words. Right. So their narrative, as I said earlier, is not only national, it is transnational, but not only transnational, it is transcontinental, because it refers to the diaspora. It is transnational, it is transcontinental, for it speaks to historical and contemporaneous issues, including the visualization of black female imagery, past, present, and future, and in relation to contemporary movement and event such as Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Time's Up, and the Black Panther movement. So it is a very dynamic movement and dialogue going on. In other words, it tells a story and the history of black women from Canada to Tierra del Fuego and going through the Caribbean. So what we have here is just women owning and rearticulating the narrative, but their own narrative from different perspectives, and also breaking barriers. Not that they have not been creating works of art, and by works of art I mean movies, painting, writing, essays. No, they've been doing it all along. But what happened is that situation of being seen through, that situation of visibility. But that's why at Morgan State University we decided just to make sure that their voice are being heard in a space as important as a university. Universities are a very important platform of dialogue and also of narrative. So in closing, I just, on behalf of the student, faculty, and staff in the James H. Gilliam College of Liberal Arts and Morgan State University, I wish to express my gratitude beyond measure to the panelists, Professor Linda Day Clark, Professor Olisa Devane, Dr. Leslie King Hammond, Professor Valerie Maynard, and Ms. Joyce Scott for honoring us with your presence. It is a great honor and a privilege for us to have you here today. On this great and good day It's a great and good day for the college, in the College of Liberal Arts. So I just thank you for that. We are very, very honored to have you here. I also would like to recognize Ms. Verna Jones-Rodwell, who's here representing Mayor Catherine, who could not attend this event due to a prior commitment. Ms. Jones-Rodwell is a former Maryland State Senator, now the director of the Baltimore Main Street Program in the Mayor's Office of Minority and Women-Owned Business Development. And we also would like to thank her, I saw her earlier here, for coming. And so I invite you to come forward and bring reading on behalf of them.
Well, good morning. Dean Nicklin, in the Morgan State University. I am so humbled and honored to be here to represent Mayor Catherine E. Pugh, who is a two-time graduate from this historic treasure. And I just didn't really get the impact of her asking me to come here to represent her today. I mean, first listening to the vocalists and hearing the music, and then listening to the dean talk about, all the bank of knowledge that is here before us today to stimulate our minds about the contribution of African American women in the world. And even more importantly, this is International Women's Day. How many of you knew that? That's right, it's International Women's Day. So we celebrate and we thank. This is such a momentous occasion for several reasons. It is the 21st anniversary of the Women's History Month. Women's History Day was started back in 1909, and then it took about 78 years to get a Women's History Month. But the theme of Women's History Month this year is nevertheless, she persists. She persists. And I would like to congratulate all of the women here that's on the panel, because they are models of women who have persisted no matter what. They didn't just take individuals saying, no, it cannot be done. So it reminds me of a poem which goes like this about persistence. Never cry for what could have been, just understand what is. What is was meant to be. What could have been never was. However, with persistence, whatever can be is possible. Thank you so much. And I would like to just present this citation on behalf of Mayor Pugh. Dean, if you would come. It reads, City of Baltimore, Certificate of Recognition. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, I am pleased to present this certificate to Morgan State University in recognition of the 2018 Women's History Month Convocation. Since 1989, Morgan State University has observed a year-long celebration of African American history and culture, marked by monthly convocations where the Morgan community highlights the achievements of its past and honors the great contributions to African American history and culture and beyond throughout the world. On behalf of the citizens of Baltimore, best wishes for a memorable convocation in observance of Women's History Month presented on this 8th day of March 2018, Catherine E. Pugh, Mayor. Thank you so much.
On behalf of President Wilson, thank you very much. Okay, now I would like to ask the chair of the panel, Dr. Leslie King Ham, to take over. Okay.
Thank you and welcome everyone to this very, very important moment in our history. Not only is it the celebration of International Women's history today. However, it is a turning point in the history of women in this time of the 21st century. Before I begin the panel, I would like to do something that I think needs to be done because the exhibition is called In Her Own Words, Art, Blackness, and Womanhood. And we have just recently lost a Morgan student on Sunday. Quite unexpectedly, without warning, without understanding that she too had a voice that we did not hear. So I would like to light a candle and dedicate this panel to this young woman. Her name was Kelly Casey. And as I light the candle, I would like for each of you to think of the name of a woman who has passed transition that she will meet in her journey as she connects to a world of peace. And we will then light this candle in the name of my mother. Please, everyone out loud, say the name at the same time.
Somebody calling my name. Somebody's calling my name. I tried and I tried, but I couldn't stay. Somebody's calling my name.
Thank you. We will now proceed to probably fill your brains with so much information and too little time for you to share. This is why we have an exhibition that is installed. I am going to briefly, very briefly, introduce each member of the panel because our time is very compressed. And each one of the artists, as I introduce them, and I'm going to do all the introductions, ladies, so that we can just move right into their individual voices so that you will understand who they are and where they have come from in their life and what they would like to share with you about being an artist in this time and generation. The first artist is Valerie Maynard, born in Harlem, New York. And she is, of course, we must acknowledge our elders. She holds the wisdom of the panel. She is an individual who is enormously gifted and too little known about her, and her time has yet to come to be sung in praises. She is a master printmaker, painter, sculptor. She studied at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, New School of Social Research. She got her degree, master's degree in media, from Goddard College. She has had artists in residence positions at Rochester Institute, as well as Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She's also taught at the Studio Museum and Howard University, as well as the University of the Virgin Islands. The next artist is Linda Day Clark, and unfortunately these next four are just, this is almost incestuous because I've had too long a life with each of these individuals. Even though, me being born in New York, I knew Valerie before Valerie knew me, all right? And I knew her because we had extended family relationships. So I knew Valerie as an artist in Harlem, fighting the fight during the height of the Black Arts Movement, during the UC, which is another artist movement that was in New York. In any event, the next artist is Linda Day Clark. Linda is an alumnus of Maryland Institute College of Art, where she studied photography, went on to get her degree from the University of Delaware. She is a master photographer, but the thing that's so wonderful about Linda is that she is so accessible, and she is so in tune with her community. and wonders about the different individuals that she meets just passing on the street. Linda is on faculty at Coppin State University, where she teaches in the art department. The next artist is Letha Defane, and I have known Letha Defane for, oh my God, when I was a young graduate student at Hopkins, working on my doctorate, I was invited to teach the first African-American art, what I call Concepts in African-American Art, at Maryland Institute College of Art. And I met her in the copy room, right? She was in Oxford. And she looked at me and she said, oh my God, she said, what are you doing here? I was invited to teach. I think I was the second black instructor at
First one.
the first, no, Sam Gilliam.
Oh, Sam Gilliam, sorry.
Sam Gilliam. Sam Gilliam.
First woman.
There was a jeweler, yes, Lindy Jordan.
Yes.
It was
I don't
Lindy
care.
Jordan, so
That's
I was
who I
great.
saw.
Right.
All right.
Okay, it's begin. It's begin. So anyway, Letha Defane has become our spirit keeper. She keeps us in mind, or at least attempts to keep us in mind. She is the one who is the great equalizer, or tries to be, unless something really upsets her. But her work is very much engaged with multimedia, printmaking, and painting. The next artist, excuse me, did I forget Linda? I told you about Linda. I told you about Linda. Sorry. It's early in the morning, she says. The other one is, and the reason why she's sitting next to me, and it's not that I think that I can control her, but I just can nudge her quickly, is Joyce J. Scott. I met Joyce J. Scott again when I was a graduate student at Hopkins, and she was sitting in a seat in an art fair and had wedged herself between two tables, obviously not paying her vendor's fee. And she had a very large case of necklaces and earrings, and I just looked at these things and I thought they were, oh my God, they were amazing. And I still have some today, and I bought some. And I was so fascinated about her because I'm from New York City. What do I know about Baltimore? So I said to her while she was sitting there, I said, well, who are you and what are you doing? She went into this repartee about how she was a single parent and she had 5 children she had to feed, and she had on a wig, not this one, a different wig, it was just out there. And I looked at her and I went, she's lying. But I also realized that there was a performance mode to her that was emerging, or she was practicing on me, obviously. So I bought my little, items and I went on, and it wasn't until a few months later that I met her walking down the street, and my husband looks up and says, oh my God, that's Joyce Scott. And I said, you know her? Anyway, they were all schoolmates at Maryland Institute, Micah, together. But the point is that Joyce and I have had a fast friendship for many, many decades. I followed her career. I wrote on her career. Joyce began to win prizes, literally every prize that you can possibly imagine. It was Comfort
I
Tiffany
didn't
Prize.
get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Not yet. It's something to work for, okay? All right? Earn. You have to earn it. And part of it is being cooperative. That's not something that, or compliant. Neither one of those are part of your profile. She won a National Endowment of the Arts. She won Anonymous Was Woman. Joyce kept winning awards because Joyce worked within the realm of materials, beads, that nobody paid attention to. It was a craft tradition. And Joyce forged new ground, new territory. 2 years ago, in 2016, Joyce won the esteemed prize of the MacArthur Fellowship. MacArthur Achievement Award. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll talk about me later because, I dabble and dabble and do all these things, but I really want you to hear the voices and the words of these remarkable, remarkable women that I have been blessed to be in their presence. So, Valerie, I know you hate being first, but you are the elder and you must pay our respects. So,
pages not in my language. So we'll move that. Good morning. Good morning. I have something I want to pass around while I'm speaking. So will one person come up and get it? Like you could get it. And it's going to be a little heavier, but I want you all to touch it before you can hear it. It's a sculpture that was carved in wood and belongs to Tony Lawrence, the original. This is a bronze cast and it's solid, but as you're touching it, just here it will be part of this piece. And take a look at it before you pass it kind of fast. Anyway, good morning. I'm not wanting to ever speak unless it's an intimate situation. So this is very difficult to me. But I will try to give you something of what I think as a person, as a spirit, and as an artist. Artist doesn't weigh in too tough with me. I realize that I am a accumulation of my very first mother and father, and I believe everybody in this room is also that person involved many times. And what I try to do is find voices to articulate all those spirits. I was fortunate to grow up in a family with grandparents, uncles, aunts, and all very articulate, not only as people, but as spiritual people, very conscious of the spirit world. So that's really where I reside. I find this kind of situation extremely uncomfortable. So I have to say that to you so you know it. And I don't know how or what you will take from this little talk. It's going to be small. I'm not a paper writer. I'm a spirit writer. And I have many voices because that's why I use all kinds of materials, such as stone, wood, glass, etc. I also do public works because I've noticed at some point I grew up in New York and Harlem, across from the Savoy Ballroom, heard music all of my life, saw everybody that you were there, as far as poets, writers. The Schomburg was my public library. My church was at a senior. And so people were always coming from all over the world and declaring what they had to do to get there. I spent most of my life in silence, but doing. I've worked with a lot of people, from preschool to the largest child corps in the country. And there I worked with at least 3,000 women. And I taught them that the main thing that they should do is find out who they were. And they should try and make everything that they used, be it their shoes, their clothing, everything, but never put $1 down and go on credit or anything. And they had to teach at least 3 people in their lives. Those are all very much grandmothers now, and they live everywhere in every country. I've traveled a bit. I've tried to take the same tack wherever I am. Most of the time, you wouldn't know that I did any art at all. My largest public work is here in Baltimore. If you went to Baltimore City College High School, the auditorium has 2 walls on it. And they're carved out of black walnut, and they're 9 by 12 feet, and they're on either side of the stage. If you've never seen them, please go. They're right here, and I think that's how come I happen to be here. I work in every medium you can think of. There's a voice voice waiting. That's about all I have to share with you. And this thing is going to go around very slowly, and as you touch it, your spirit is going to coalesce with it some kind of way. And that's why I'm passing it around to you. And that really is my talk to you this morning. So thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I'm Linda. So, as a photographer, my work is largely about community. I get involved in communities, and I try to help tell their stories and show their humanity. I feel very fortunate. I've always been surrounded by fierce women. Fierce women have always been in my life, my mother, my aunts. These weren't professional women, they had serious struggle, and it was made clear to me in no uncertain terms that their struggle was about my success. And so that was always with me. And although so many people were trying to pray me over and mark my way, I still took the sort of hard-headed, rocky road. And by the time I was 16, I was pregnant, and I did graduate high school. I got married, and I stayed home, and I raised my son for the first 5 years. And when he was ready for school, I thought, well, I'm ready for school. I need to do something more to make a better life for him. But by this time, I was divorced and a welfare mother. And it was all those fierce women who just made me think it was nothing to even concern myself with, that I, a welfare mother, would apply to MICA, one of the most expensive schools in the universe, it seemed, and, do my thing. And so that's what I did. And at Maryland Institute, College of Art, I met other fierce women like the crazy ladies this way, Leslie and Joyce and Aletha, and just so many fierce examples. And at MICA, I started a project where I was photographing the people of North Avenue. Everyone was sort of telling me, don't go out on North Avenue, you'll die, there's nothing but drugs and crime and violence, don't go out there. And so I just thought, that's a misunderstanding, that there's so many decent human beings out there that are getting overlooked for this stereotype. So I picked up my camera to do battle. I would just walk North Avenue, talk to absolute strangers, and photograph people trying to show their humanity, their beauty, their struggle, their dignity. And I did that as a student, but I continued that, and it's something that I continued for at least a decade. And that series has been seen all around the world. That's Oprah Winfrey actually called about one of those images. She was interviewing Toni Morrison and asked could she have one of my images, my photographs, as the backdrop as she was interviewing Toni Morrison. I was like, I'll think about it, Oprah. Right? So I just love that sort of affirmation that what the message I was trying to get out was something that was resonating. And so at Maryland Institute, as I graduated, I won a traveling fellowship. And with that fellowship, I went to Nigeria, West Africa, and I lived there for 2 months. So I said, I was a welfare mother when I started. At Maryland Institute, I met the love of my life, Carl Clark, and I took him on this fellowship, me and my son and Carl. And we actually got married in Nigeria. It was beautiful. We lived there for 2 months. And I did the same sort of thing, just walking through West Africa, through Nigeria specifically, talking to strangers and trying to learn as much as I could and share their beauty, share their humanity. And so we stayed there for 2 months photographing, and that was a beautiful experience. I came back and one of the things I did at MICA as well, though, was to get an internship, and that started me shooting as a journalist for a while, and so I would shoot for major magazines and newspapers because of that internship. And so I was shooting for the New York Times for a while, and the New York Times called and asked would I go to Gee's Bend, Alabama. I'd never heard of this place. But from what they said, the assignment sounded like something I would be interested in doing, so I said yes. At the time, Gee's Bend was not on the map. I mean, literally, you couldn't find a hard copy map, certainly no Google map or anything else. It's that remote a community. It's a plantation where once the slaves were freed, they did not do the Great Migration. They stayed on the plantation. They became sharecroppers. My family are sharecroppers. Both my mother and father's family are sharecroppers. And so now they're proud landowners, and they have made these amazing quilts that have rocked the art world. And so my assignment was to go and do a story so that the New York Times could run a story based on their New York exhibition at the Whitney Museum. So I went, but I fell in love. Again, I fell in love with these people and the place and the legacy. And so on my own, I go back every year. And I've gone back to Gee's Bend every year since 2002 to try to record their lives and make sure they have a place in American history and just to share their beauty and humanity. So those, I think, are the three major projects that I've done: the North Avenue, the Nigeria, and the Gee's Bend works. And I continue to do this sort of thing. I like to just use my camera to help me understand people and then to help others be a little bit more informed and insightful about the lives of people that are often dismissed or underserved or misunderstood.
Well, good morning. My name is Olitha Devane. I'm very delighted to be here with you and with my dear sisters here on the stage. It's always been for me an honor to be in their presence and trying to learn as much as I can about what it is that I do, because it's really always a journey somewhere to someplace. I went to Maryland Institute as a young person from the age of 17, a little bit frightened by it because I wasn't sure what I was getting into. My parents were both very supportive in the fact that I was going to an art school, which was amazing because everybody else wanted you to have a job. And I didn't have one. But I decided at one point that what I was interested in was trying to figure out how to take what talent I thought I had and apply it, to some aspect of learning. The one thing that my parents did when I was young was they moved from Baltimore. I used to live not too far from here, in fact, off Ivanhoe, which is near Willow Avenue, which is the street we lived on. And when they moved from Baltimore, I was 13, the desegregation in Howard County was just happening, and I missed my friends dearly. And it ended up being one of those places where you really had to find your way, find out who you were, because in the school that I went to, there weren't many black students. There were like maybe 30 out of 1,000. And so I spent a lot of time trying to really look at that situation for myself as a young person and really move through the school system in Howard County. When I went to Maryland Institute, I was there in 1976, I think, and it was, as I said, difficult, but what was difficult about it was, again, going into a situation where the educational system, for me, was about how do I fit in, where is it that I go. I almost didn't make it through Maryland Institute. I dropped out. I dropped out. You're just finding it out. I dropped out for 2 years. And I went to California. And in California, I thought I was going to find myself. That was the 60s. I'm thinking, I'm going to do this. And I swear to God, I had to get my ass back to school. And if I was going to find myself, I was going to have to be in school. And I must have been, I forget when you came, but Leslie was the first black professor that I saw when I came back. And I had already graduated.
73.
It was 73. I'd already graduated because I graduated in 72. And I decided to audit her course. And there was one course that was on African art. The very first course that I ever went to or attended. So when I met Joyce, she had just gotten back from Mexico. And she wore blue jeans and you had overalls on. I don't know if you remember this. She was in overalls. You can look at her now.
Condom.
I'm thinking, oh my God. Again, another woman who just talked, and she came up to me and started asking questions about what was I doing, why was I there. I majored in painting, and when I went on to graduate school, I majored in painting again. I must say that the courses that I took in graduate school were ones that really began to help me focus as a woman, because I took it with Jonetta Cole and Esther Terry. And these women were also fierce people. I mean, they were amazing. And that course, if anything, guided my life because it made me read so much about what was going on for black women within the black culture. I feel like a lot of times what we don't do is try to understand our nobility, who we are as people. And it really is, for me, an opportunity to kind of share through my work, really, what it is that I believe, because I love that Valerie talked a little bit about the spiritual relationship that one has with your work and how it is your decoder, it's your way of understanding who you are and how you live. I don't know what's behind me. The pieces that are being shown, one is called Hagar's Children, or Hagar's Dress. And Hagar, as we know, was the mother of Abraham. And by looking at her life as the African wife of Abraham, what I understand is that she was a mother of nations. And it always intrigued me because it was, I guess in interpreting a lot of texts and a lot of spiritual things, I always felt that it was an opportunity to internalize the things that my grandparents taught me, because my grandparents were very much a part of the church, but my parents said, you don't believe everything that you hear, not even from the church, because ignorance is not acceptable. You are to investigate for oneself. It doesn't matter who is presenting to you. If you are ignorant, then you don't survive. And one of the things that I believe is that women need to be educated. Women need to be educated because we're the ones who teach our children who they will become. We are the ones who can change their minds about, how to treat, each other, and also specifically our boys. When we're raising our boys, they're the ones who are going out into that world. And we got this Me Too movement, but that Me Too movement really starts with sort of what I call the misunderstanding of how to treat a woman, and mothers have to take care of them. And I say that because I really believe that we're in a very interesting phase in our lives. Hagar's Dress was at the Claremont plantation, which is in Virginia. And this particular dress is made of chains, and it has writing from the biblical text on it that reference Hagar. And I often look at this particular piece and think about what it meant to walk across those balls, the sweet, you know what sweet gum balls are? Well, slaves had to walk across the sweet gum balls in order to attain freedom. And so a lot of times I will use those within my installations or exhibitions that I do. So I do a lot of things that are reflective of maybe for me a kind of place that I'm at that time. I tend to look at what's happening in the society. I try to look at how we can really make change through the work that we do as artists, because I believe artists are in some ways the decoders of the imagery and the things that are happening in society. So that's essentially what I want to share.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joyce J. Scott, and I'm a roundaway girl from Sandtown. I want to straighten up a couple of things, though. I'm a spiritual base. You did not call me professor, and where's my citation? Okay, now I feel better. I come to you today on a panel with some very erudite, wonderful women who have blazed trails. It's important to see that Women's History Month is not only about those ladies who did well in their community or were politicians, theologians. It's about the people who made everyday changes in the lives of everyone. And these folks who are professors, who have worked hand in hand with students of any age, have changed the culture because of that. I'm an artist who works with materials that come directly from my family. Both of my parents were sharecroppers as well. And my mother's side of the family in South Carolina made everything that they needed. Talking to our first speaker, Valerie. So I was taught how to make shoes and pots and baskets and clothing, because that's the way you would sustain yourself in the future. Well, I turned that ability with the use of needle, thread, bead, and fabric into my life's work. A lot of my work is politically and socially oriented. I am not a preacher. Sometimes I'm a teacher, but I am an artist, and that is my best voice. The picture that you see is from an exhibition that I have. It's the largest exhibition that I've done to now at Grounds for Sculpture in New Jersey, close to Princeton. And it's interesting that it's up at the same time, because Princeton now is having to reevaluate how much slavery enhanced their school system. You see a 15-foot sculpture of Harriet Tubman made out of earth. And we made it so that at the end of this exhibition, the weather would have beaten it down. And only the things that were on her body were left, like the memory of her that dissipated, but that's come back. Well, this is the fourth and last month, and Harriet is truly resilient. She refuses to die. So I'm asking them to leave it up until she makes a decision to pass on. And if that happens, I hope it happens when she's on the front of the $20 bill.
There you go.
I think my message about what I do, and I talk a lot of trash, a lot, is short and sweet. This is the only life that I know I will have as an artist. If there is such a thing as reincarnation, I may come back, but probably because I've done a few things this time, as body, snot, or some harm. So if this is my life as a human being, I'm going to run it down. My parents gave me a light. Yes, I say it. I shine bright. I shine bright because they were told they could not shine. because they didn't have education, because they were sharecroppers from the South. In the old days, they say you have to hide your light under a bushel. And my parents told me never to do that. They ate crap so I might have sugar. So I say to you today, and please come to the gallery so you can see the artwork that we've made, that you should shine through whatever your endeavor. You should be out there blazing. This is your one opportunity that you'll have. Don't sleep. I am going to glow. Now, if you cannot pop a hit off this, if you cannot catch a little heat off this person, then step off, because I intend to blaze.
As you can tell, I'm really the last one on the panel, and who can follow her?
You can, Leslie. You can.
I have a very kind of like mixed role in the art world. I play many roles, many hats I wear. I started off in my life as a first generation born and raised in this country, from a family that migrated from the Caribbean. My father ended up in Brooklyn Navy Yard making ships. My grandmother was a seamstress in the garment district for more than 30 years. We were makers in the family because, you know, we couldn't go downtown or shop. And if we could, we didn't have the money. Working class poor. My mother was a nurse, and she was the healer in the house, as most women are in every house, whether you are trained professionally to be that within your application, or you end up just having to be the primary person who takes care. As I grew up, I was a very sick child. I was a cancer baby. And at that time, you're not supposed to survive. So I had, as I found out in my 40s, I only had like a 5% chance of survival at that time. The only reason I probably survived is that my mother gave me life a second time by realizing that I was ill. And as a result of that, for the rest of my life, I had to deal with those challenges, which I did not understand, came as an aftermath. So I was a little crazy and non-compliant, non-cooperative, because I found that my joy was in making things. I just like to make stuff. And I watched my father when he would come home, and one of his passions was to make Japanese kites out of balsa wood and tissue paper, and glue out of flour that my mother was cooking with. He would make a paste. And then I was fascinated that my grandmother could take a scrap without a pattern, big shears this long, and cut shapes and make the most incredible things. And I would sit next to her, watching her deal with these abstract forms, putting them together. And I was as a sickly child growing up, I was very tiny, so, you know, a yard of fabric did a lot for my little pitiful body. And so she would bring home scraps from the garment district, and so I was always dressed like a little princess. So fiber became one of my passions. As I moved on into my life growing up, I went to school, Buffalo, hated it, too much snow, too much whiteness, oh my God. Left Buffalo, came back, went to school at the New School of Social Research, very much like what Valerie did. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Left that, went into corporate America to work for General Electric Company. Hated that. Oh, that was the worst. Okay, that really grounded me back into reality. And I took a job at an anti-poverty agency teaching art on the streets to kids, which I loved, absolutely loved. But it was a summer job. As a result of that, I got an offer to go to college. You know, there are a lot of details in here, we can get that later. I got a chance to go back to school full-time with a fellowship. Graduated from Queens College with a BFA, because I got to major in art at last, the love of my life. Mind you now, my whole family thinks I'm a little bit off the Richter scale. Okay, just a little bit. And my mother and father are trying to figure out how are you going to survive. But I don't care, I'm just doing this. As I'm finishing my college education at Queens College with a BFA, I get a fellowship to go to Johns Hopkins University and work on my doctorate. I think that was like an incendiary device in my family. They didn't know who I was, what I was trying to prove, and why was I doing this. I didn't have chicken or child. I was very upset that throughout all of my education, I kept going to the library looking for books, literature, anything about me, a woman, an African American, a black person, making art, could not find them, okay? So I go and I read on the shelves. I start with anthropology. I read all the anthropology books. Then I read all the archaeology books because I figured, in early mankind, maybe there's a clue there. I know that, we're from Africa originally, okay? I'm sick of all of that. And then after a while I go, well, maybe an alternative universe. So I read all the books in science fiction. All right, looking for alternatives, because I say these humans on Earth are not cutting it for me. Because remember now, I'm growing up as a child of the Civil Rights Movement, and it is nothing but one battle after another. By the time I get to Hopkins, I get there as the aftermath of the Martin Luther King, what I call syndrome, the guilt and the affirmative action movement. I get in, I go to Hopkins, I get this a fantastic opportunity. Not having planned any of it, but I realized this is a moment in history, and I have in my history, so that I can make a decision. What am I going to do with it? I had no desire ever to be an exhibiting artist like these ladies, all right? I made it as my therapy. It was my salvation. It was like at the end of the day, fighting with white folks, fighting with systems, I could go home and just make something and be happy. So I just would do that. I would go home and I would just make little stuff. And I had by this time met Joyce, met Olitha, already knew about, Valerie. And I was comfortable doing what I was doing. But what I was doing with my degree was that I was writing. I decided that if our history is not written down, nobody will ever remember it. It's as if we did not exist. Because at that same time in history, I'm going through the beginnings of the feminist movement. So I said, I'll pass on the exhibiting. I will spend my time writing. By that time, I was also a single parent. I was going through divorce, so I can't go anywhere. So I might as well sit in the house, turn my third floor studio, part art, part research. And so I have written. I have curated shows. I have written so much on her. Oh, yeah. It's a lot to write. It's a lot, but I knew she was, and her mother, okay? And her mother, amazing. But I had no regrets about that because what I did was open up the lines of communication to allow people to see that there was a lens around which we need to create images that reflect who we really are. I was really angry growing up. Still a little pissed, okay? But I had to channel this, all right? I had to channel it and put it someplace where it could be productive. And so I hope that my words that have been published and whatever books, catalogs, whatever I've written, will sustain that part of history as I continue on. In the meantime, while I'm doing all this at home, making my little stuff, I am forced out of the closet to exhibit my work because a curator, Deborah Willis, when she was at the Smithsonian, decides to come to my house one day and look at what I'm doing. And so she's coming in and she's looking at everything. I said, at a townhouse at the time, and she came through the front door and she said, I want to see what you do. And I said, well, come on through the house. And I got to the middle room and she said, well, what's this? And it was a quilt on the wall. And I had bought a chair, a sofa. In the midst of my divorce, I sort of lost a little bit of furniture. So you know how you have to make do, and I bought this wonderful little sofa in a shop for $75. And I love the brocade on the seat, but all of the cushions were all crunched up. So I stripped off all of the surviving fabric, and I bought some other fabric. fabric, and I cut and pasted and made a top quilt, a patchwork quilt. And I put it over the cushions until I could afford, 10 years later, to have the sofa refinished. I gave the top quilt to Joyce's mother, Elizabeth Scott. Remember? You don't. You will when you see it in City Hall. It's hanging in City Hall. I gave the top quilt to Elizabeth Scott, her mother, and I said, Mother Scott, can you please just put some of your embellishments on it, okay? Because I want to complete this part of my life and put it together. By the time I get it back, a year later, I open it up and I go, oh my God. So when Deborah Willis is coming through, she sees this quilt. She says, what is this? And I said, it's a testament to my arrogance. Because I actually thought that I could collaborate with the Elizabeth Scott, okay? And what she had done was, I said, Mother Scott, what is that? What did you put on there? It was a mother monster. She said that was you protecting your child during the divorce. And on the monster's hand are the crab claws, actual crab claws in there. So if you want to see it, it's in City Hall. But it is a summation of how I like to work with artists, with the community, and what I hope to be able to continue to do. Thank you. Get up yet. Yeah, no, I wanted to now open it. If you want to come up and facilitate, but he's like, no, yes. I would like to open this up now to any of you who have questions. I am sure there is something that you want to know or are curious about with these artists. This is the era of Black Lives Matter, Me Too, Time's Up. We are in a cataclysmic moment. Black Panther is raging through the globalness of our Wakanda. And it is making a profound impact on how women are being seen, perceived, and now what are going to be the new levels of relationships that are going to come about. But while you have these women here who have been fighting the fight from day one, and working through these very same images. Please, anybody, observation, yes. Come. There's a mic right here.
Good afternoon. First and foremost, I just want to thank you all for coming. This morning, our class went to the museum where we got a chance to look at all of your pieces, and I had no idea that the wonderful esteemed artists that created them would be here for a discussion. So first and foremost, I just want to thank you all again for coming here and sharing your story. I actually have two questions for the first artist on the left. I took a look of your series of Blackness, and I just wanted to know what inspired that, and also your photo of the woman close up with her hand by her face. I just wanted to know the story behind that photo as well. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Don't remember actually, but at the time there was a print workshop in Hall, and anybody would come here. And I didn't really realize that I was writing Blackness 45 years ago until I saw that print recently. They showed me a couple of years ago. But I wasn't here because of growing up in Harlem and hearing and seeing everybody. That has been part of my voice, particular special for everything.
The image that you were asking about, I think, is a portrait of a woman named Arlanzia Petway in G's Bend, and she's one of the reasons that I fell in love with that community. I'll just tell you a quick story. Most of the women there are just, in my mind, these elder cultures are brilliant, just some of the most profound people I've ever met, though they have little to no formal education. They'll say something so deep I'm in tears every time I'm there. But Arlanzia Petway was able to talk to me about sitting on her great-grandmother's quilt and how her grandmother was able to talk to her about her life as a slave. And so we've read slave narratives, but I'm talking about something a little different, first-hand information where her great-grandmother was able to talk to her about how she was captured in Africa, where she was held before being led onto the ships, what the middle passage was like. That kind of first-hand information to me was amazing, and what her life was like as a slave on that plantation in Gee's Bend. And she, Arlanzia, was one of the main chroniclers, keepers of the history, and it's mostly oral, again, because many of them have no formal education. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to keep going, to try to record their stories and share their stories and put a light on their humanity and their amazing connection to the bigger, American story. And it turns out that that was the last image I was able to take of Arlanzia before she had a stroke that took her voice. And I'm still sad today thinking about the amazing information that was locked away after that stroke that took her voice and then, of course, took her life. So it's a part of the Gee's Bend images, and she's just an amazing individual. And I had the honor of meeting and being able to share a bit of her life with anyone who cares to see.
May I tag on to that? I don't know if you understand, because I don't always understand the import of what's happening right now. I also had a mom who was a sharecropper who remembered her grandparent who was a slave, and he was the one who taught them to do a lot of grass weaving and that kind of stuff. But in the blink of an eye, this culture has changed. Technology has afforded people no longer to say that they're ignorant, because you can just go on the computer. If you don't have one, you can go on your phone. Or you can take the trusty library and go there. It's completely different from my life being raised without a cell phone or a computer to where we are right now. And when those elders pass, that's gone. That first person info will be gone. So it's very important for us to be able to sit with them one-on-one and catch that wisdom, because when I say it's gone, I mean it's completely gone. And with all the fake news and the way people are informing themselves about stuff, you'll find that your history will change. So one of the things that I wanted to say before your question was that we're also at the table with people who just not only opened doors, but kept their feet in the door so that someone else could come in. We are depending upon you to come in. That's the only way that this culture that we live in will change and evolve, is if you step up. Remember, it doesn't mean that you have to be on the streets with placards. That may not be your thing. But making a difference to live this life and to work with each other keeps the door open.
I can only emphasize that too. The idea of collaborating, being able to find those people who are with you, who can constantly help you through whatever the issues are in your life. And it's not just parents. You surround yourself with people who are, how can I say, the guides, more or less. That may not be the right word either, but it is about that connection. Because we don't do anything in this world by ourselves. Nothing.
Hello. My name is Jess Solomon, and I just want to first thank you all for the breadth and depth of your work. Over technologies, you know, historical moments in time, the fact that you have given so much of yourselves, and like we only saw a snippet of those backstories, and I see next to you, behind you, all the young people who you have brought along the way and helped and shaped and molded. I would love to hear about what excites you right now. What are you reading? What are you listening to? And what is inspiring your practice in this moment?
Dark Matters. The Surveillance of Blackness is what I'm reading right now. It's a really interesting book to talk about, basically, because I love science fiction too. And one of the things that we tend to forget is how Black people were really under surveillance, not only back in the time of slavery, but even now, and how difficult it is not to be, you know, in a moment without somebody thinking you're doing something wrong. I feel that, to me, if you read Dark Matter, it'll give you insight into the concept of surveillance and where we are as a society. The world is.
I'm reading a book right now by the poet, I'm learning the last name, Alexander somebody, on Black interior space. And it's talking about the nature of how Black people navigate space. Oftentimes in my own writings, I talk about the space in between the land to which we were brought to that we could not own, and the realities that we had to live through, and what happened in between those spaces where we did take control. How did we take control? So I call it navigating the spaces of Blackness. And so I'm always reading. There's a book that I read very often, and it's Gaston Blanchard's Poetics of Space. Okay, that is probably one of the Bibles on my shelf, where he talks about the nuances of square spaces and round spaces and closets and drawers and the things that we just take for granted. Okay, the importance of those kinds of spaces within the realities of where you live. It's not an easy book to read, but it's also not an easy life to live. Being Black, always having to live in between everything. And it is.
I'm sorry, he equates the body and the house.
Yes, it's an enormously important book in order to navigate that. And it goes back to Du Bois's two-ness, you know, the duality of living in different realities, you know, and we live somewhere between the real, the surreal, and the existential. So my readings are always geared towards those kinds of queries. That's what fascinates me.
I'm all over the place in my reading. Things that excite me. I just, not just, I guess it's been a while now, but Ta-Nehisi Coates is Between the World and Me, I think. Warmth of Other Suns. An amazing cookbook by Edna Lewis, I think is her name. A Black woman who just tells the most amazing stories around food and its connection to our legacy. And I'm always picking up Leslie King Hammond's publications and reading her amazing insights. I don't know if you can imagine walking into a class and having Leslie King Hammond as your professor. It's just amazing.
She's phenomenal.
Mind-blowing experience. Some historians can sort of talk the mojo right out of a work, and Leslie lights an inspirational fire, and it's contagious. so I'm often reading Dr. Leslie King Hammond's insights.
Thank you.
So she's been a real import. She talked earlier about, just writing and making sure things are written about that. And it's written in a way that's zesty and allows you to read it, but it also has great power. I would like to read more. I keep buying books and I stack them up, and I read like the first 2 chapters. But I was yawning. You saw me earlier like this because I was working until 4 o'clock. My last readings, sniglets and workings have been on Black Indians. That's something that I've done a lot of work on, and I was doing a show in Tulsa, Oklahoma with Sonia Clark, so I had to read a lot about Black Indians, and I did for me because a lot of people don't know the Trail of Tears, that famous Trail of Tears that natives walked from the East Coast to Oklahoma, was also inhabited by their slaves because the 5 civilized tribes had Black slaves. So for me, it was the interest in who those Black people were when they walked, how they informed and changed the population of Oklahoma. How come we don't know more about that? And what difference it makes to be multi-ethnic in a certain way. And then the final thing was our embedded ideas of what slavery means. But there were natives who had slaves, and Africans who had slaves. So what really is the true face of that, and how do we evolve through that?
We have time for one more question.
And we have
Mine is not exactly a question. I'm Lee Arship, and I'm a professor in the journalism school here. I wanted to sort of piggyback on what the last question said. Tomorrow, Saturday, here in our journalism school building, we're going to be hosting a Wikipedia edit-a-thon, where we will be updating information on women, Black women, art, activism, and feminism. So that's in the journalism school building from 10 to 4 on Saturday. And
Would you speak, please?
Pardon me?
Would you do Joyce J. Scott?
I would gladly do if I have that opportunity.
About Byron or anything else that they say.
And the second thing I wanted to point out to people is that today, the New York Times launched a series called Overlooked. I used to work at the Times, and I can tell you that they've overlooked a lot. But they're making up for lost time with this series where they are writing the obituaries of women who should have been recognized before. So the first series is posted now, you can find it. It includes Ida B. Wells and Henrietta Lacks, and I'm going to forget all the others, but it started with 15 women going back in time. And I thank you all for your presence today.
Thank you. With this invitation, Joyce Scott's exhibition at Grounds for Sculpture is going to be closing on March 31st. If you go to Motor House's website, Motor House, we have a trip going up, which is going to be fabulous. It will be a closing exhibition. The price includes the bus trip, the admission to the museum, a gourmet lunch, which is fabulous at the Rats Restaurant. Joyce will be on the bus with us, harassing and tormenting us. We will then, if there's any energy left in her, she will take us through parts of the exhibition, which is not to be missed, the tour. And then we will have a champagne closing reception. So please come, sign up, and join us. It is going to be a fabulous day. Thank you all. 31st, March 31st. Thank you all, each and every one of you for coming.
Well, in closing, this is what we call a wow moment, right? Now you understand why I said that this was a great day and a good day for the college, in the college, And so thank you very much to all of you for honoring us with your presence and enlightenment. And I learned a lot. I was just taking a lot of notes. And Dr. King Hammond, your book, I think that we would like to have at least the title, all the references and to see what we can do with it in the College of Liberal Arts, either through a lecture or a panel, but because we think that we need to know about these stories and history, and so please, and to all of you, please come back, please come back. We would like to see you back here, and individually or as a group, but we really look forward to seeing you back here on our campus. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And in closing, I just would like to recognize the person who made this possible and who ambushed me to preside over this. I was not supposed to be here. I was supposed to be sitting there. And so, Ms. Robin Howard, please. So this is the lady who is.
This is what I was trying to avoid.
Well, good morning, good afternoon now. Thank you for coming. I'm so excited. These ladies have been awesome for the past couple of months. They have walked me through this whole thing, and I've enjoyed it, and the culmination was this, and I'm glad that they're here. I hope you got great information from them. It's always a joy to hear from them, and sign me up for the road trip. Okay. Thank you, and please take this information back and use it, really use it, and get in touch with them. They're very, they're what's my word? Accessible, that's right. Okay. Yeah, English is not my thing. But really use them. They are there for you. And so thank you once again.
Come on the road trip. Oh, road trip is going to be big and fun.
Oh,